The moon hung full and heavy over the dense forests of Gévaudan, casting long, sinister shadows that danced across the ground like phantoms. The villagers whispered of the beast, a creature so dreadful it had become legend in a matter of months. They spoke of it in hushed tones, the fear palpable even in their guarded conversations. It was said to be a wolf, but not like any wolf they had ever known. No, this was something far more terrifying. Eyewitnesses described the beast of Gévaudan as a predator similar to a wolf, but the size of a cow. It had a very wide chest, a long flexible tail with a tassel at the end, like a lion, and an elongated muzzle resembling that of a greyhound. Small, pointed ears and large fangs that protruded menacingly from its mouth completed its monstrous visage. Its fur was a yellowish red, but along its back ran a wide stripe of dark fur, like a cruel signature of nature. What set this beast apart from any known predator was its method of attack. It aimed for the head, tearing at the face with a ferocity that left no doubt about its lethal intent. Unlike other wild animals that would go for the throat, this creature knocked its victims down with a single, powerful throw, sometimes tearing off their heads in one swift motion. If pursued, it ran very fast, but not in jumps like other wolves. It moved at a steady, relentless trot, as if driven by an unholy purpose. It was not just the ferocity of its attacks that terrorized the people, but their frequency. The beast attacked so often that many believed they were dealing with an entire pack. Some witnesses claimed to have seen not one, but two creatures, at times a full-grown beast accompanied by a younger, smaller one. There were even rumors that a man had been seen alongside the beast, leading to dark speculation that it had been trained by some malevolent human. The first attack had occurred on a clear summer evening. A young shepherdess, Marie, was tending her flock near the edge of the forest. The villagers found her the next day, her body mangled beyond recognition. Her face was torn to shreds, her head barely attached to her neck. Panic spread like wildfire through the community. The beast had arrived. Weeks turned into months, and the attacks continued. No one was safe. Men, women, and children all fell victim to the beast's insatiable hunger. The local lord, Jean de la Barre, declared a hunt. He assembled the finest hunters and dogs in the region, determined to rid his lands of this scourge. For days, they combed the forest, but the beast eluded them, as if it were a phantom that could melt into the shadows. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the landscape, a hunter named Antoine ventured deeper into the forest. He was determined to track the beast, his mind filled with thoughts of glory and revenge for the friends he had lost. As darkness enveloped the forest, Antoine heard a rustle in the underbrush. He raised his rifle, his heart pounding in his chest. Out of the shadows stepped not the beast, but a man. He was tall and gaunt, with eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. Antoine felt a chill run down his spine. The man smiled, a twisted, malevolent grin that spoke of dark secrets and untold horrors. "You seek the beast," the man said, his voice a low, guttural whisper. "But the beast is not what you think it is." Antoine tightened his grip on the rifle. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What do you know of the beast?" The man's grin widened. "I am its master," he said. "And soon, you will join us." Before Antoine could react, the man lunged at him with a speed that defied belief. Antoine fired his rifle, the shot echoing through the forest, but the man was upon him, his strength inhuman. Antoine felt a searing pain as the man's fingers dug into his flesh, and then everything went black. When Antoine awoke, he was lying on the forest floor, the moon high in the sky. The man was gone, but in his place stood the beast. It regarded him with cold, intelligent eyes, and Antoine felt a terror unlike anything he had ever known. The beast moved closer, its breath hot and foul against his skin. In that moment, Antoine understood the true horror of the beast of Gévaudan. It was not merely a wild animal, but a creature of darkness, born of malevolence and nurtured by the evil of its master. It was a monster that could not be tamed or destroyed by mortal means. The beast opened its jaws, and Antoine braced himself for the end. But instead of attacking, the beast stepped back and let out a howl that echoed through the forest, a sound that chilled Antoine to the bone. He struggled to his feet, his mind reeling. He had to warn the villagers, had to tell them the truth about the beast. But as he stumbled through the forest, the beast's howl still ringing in his ears, Antoine knew that the true horror was only just beginning. The beast was not alone, and its master had plans far more sinister than anyone could imagine. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, Antoine reached the edge of the forest, his body battered and his mind filled with dread. He knew that the hunt for the beast of Gévaudan was far from over, and that the true terror lay not in the beast itself, but in the darkness that had birthed it. Antoine stumbled into the village, his face pale and his clothes torn. The villagers gathered around him, their eyes wide with fear and curiosity. Jean de la Barre, the local lord, pushed through the crowd, his face set in a grim mask. "Antoine," the la Barre said, gripping the hunter's shoulder. "What did you see? Did you find the beast?" Antoine looked up, his eyes haunted. "The beast? It's not just an animal. There's a man who controls it. He called himself its master." Gasps rippled through the crowd. De la Barre's face darkened. "We must find this man," he said. "He must be the key to stopping the beast." For days, the villagers prepared. They fortified their homes, set traps around the village, and armed themselves with whatever weapons they could find. But there was an unease that settled over the village, a sense that they were up against something far beyond their understanding. One night, as the village lay in a tense silence, a figure appeared at the edge of the forest. It was the man Antoine had described, his eyes glowing with that unnatural light. He stood there, watching, as if studying the villagers' defenses. Antoine, now bedridden and feverish, was racked with nightmares. He saw the man's face, twisted and malevolent, and the beast, always lurking in the shadows. He could feel the darkness creeping into his mind, whispering secrets that he dared not repeat. In his delirium, Antoine began to piece together the fragments of his encounters. The man was not just a master of the beast, he was something more, something ancient and evil. Antoine remembered stories his grandmother had told him, tales of dark sorcery and creatures born of curses. The village's priest, Father Pierre, came to Antoine's bedside. "Antoine, my son," he said, laying a hand on the hunter's forehead, "you must tell us everything you know. We must understand what we are dealing with." Antoine's eyes fluttered open. It's like a curse," he whispered. "The man, he controls the beast with dark magic." "It's not just a beast, Father. It's something else, something unnatural." Father Pierre nodded gravely. "We will need more than just weapons to fight this evil," he said. "We will need faith, and perhaps something more." The next day, de la Barre called a council. They gathered in the church, the flickering candles casting long shadows on the walls. "We must hunt this man," the la Barre said. "If we can kill him, perhaps we can break the curse and end the beast's reign of terror." Father Pierre stood. "I agree," he said. "But we must also prepare for the possibility that we are dealing with something beyond our understanding. We need to seek out those who have knowledge of such dark arts." The council agreed, and a plan was set in motion. De la Barre and a group of hunters would track the man in the forest, while Father Pierre would journey to a nearby abbey known for its extensive library of ancient texts. As de la Barre and his men ventured into the forest, they felt an oppressive weight in the air, as if the trees themselves were watching. They moved cautiously, their weapons at the ready, eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of the beast or its master. Meanwhile, Father Pierre traveled to the abbey. The monks there welcomed him and led him to their library, a vast room filled with ancient tomes and scrolls. Father Pierre spent days poring over the texts, searching for any mention of curses or beasts like the one terrorizing Gévaudan. At last, he found a book that spoke of a dark sorcerer who could command the spirits of the forest. According to the legend, the sorcerer had been cursed by a powerful witch, turning him into a creature of the night, half man, half beast. His curse could only be broken by destroying the talisman that bound him to the beast. Father Pierre read on, his heart sinking. The talisman was described as a pendant worn around the sorcerer's neck, containing a shard of a fallen star. It was said to glow with an eerie light, the same light that Antoine had seen in the man's eyes. Back in the forest, de la Barre and his men found themselves deep in enemy territory. The trees seemed to close in around them, the shadows growing darker. Suddenly, they heard a low growl. The beast stepped into the clearing, its eyes fixed on them. De la Barre raised his rifle, but before he could fire, the man appeared. He moved with a fluid grace, his eyes glowing with that unnatural light. "You cannot stop me," he said, his voice echoing through the trees. "The beast and I are one." De la Barre fired, the shot ringing out in the night. The bullet struck the man, but he did not fall. Instead, he laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down the hunter's spines. "Fools," he said, You think you can kill me with mortal weapons? The beast lunged, and the hunters scattered. The lawbar stood his ground, reloading his rifle. We will stop you, he said. Whatever it takes. The man laughed again, then turned and disappeared into the shadows, the beast following. The lawbar and his men regrouped, their resolve stronger than ever. They would find the talisman, and they would end the curse. As Father Pierre returned to the village with the knowledge he had gained, the villagers prepared for a final confrontation. They fortified their homes, set traps, and prayed for deliverance. The beast's attacks had grown more frequent, and they knew that time was running out. In the dead of night, the beast struck again. This time, it was more savage, more relentless. The villagers fought back, their fear turning to desperation. The lawbar and his men charged into the fray, determined to protect their home. Father Pierre arrived just in time to see the man standing on a hill, the talisman glowing around his neck. There, he shouted. The talisman. We must destroy it. The lawbar took aim, his hand steady. He fired, the bullet striking the talisman. The man's eyes widened in shock, and for a moment, the glow faded. The beast howled in pain, its form wavering. But the man was not defeated yet. He raised his hands, chanting in a language that made the very air tremble. The beast regained its strength, and the fight continued. Father Pierre rushed to the lawbar's side. We need to break the talisman, he said. Physically destroy it. The lawbar nodded, and together, they charged up the hill. The man saw them coming and unleashed the beast, but the villagers, armed with newfound courage, fought back, holding the creature at bay. The lawbar reached the man, grappling with him as Father Pierre grabbed the talisman. The man screamed, a sound of pure rage and desperation. You cannot defeat me, he cried. But Father Pierre, with a strength he did not know he possessed, tore the talisman from the man's neck and smashed it against a rock. The shard of the fallen star shattered, its light extinguished. The man let out a final, agonized scream, and then he was gone, his body disintegrating into dust. The beast howled once more, then collapsed, its form melting away into the earth. The village was silent, the air heavy with the aftermath of the battle. The villagers emerged from their homes, their faces marked with relief and exhaustion. They had survived. The lawbar and Father Pierre stood on the hill, looking down at the village they had saved. It's over, the lawbar said, his voice filled with a mix of triumph and sorrow. Father Pierre nodded. For now, he said. But we must always be vigilant. Evil like this can never be fully eradicated. As dawn broke over Gévaudan, the villagers began to rebuild. They knew that the memory of the beast would haunt them for years to come, but they also knew that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. But deep in the forest, in the shadows where the light of day could not reach, something stirred. The curse was broken, but the evil that had given birth to the beast was not so easily vanquished. It waited, patient and watchful, for the time when it could rise again. The village of Gévaudan basked in a rare moment of peace. For the first time in months, there were no reports of missing people, no sightings of the monstrous beast that had terrorized them. The air was filled with the sounds of reconstruction and the laughter of children who, for the first time in what felt like forever, played without fear. Father Pierre and Jean de la Barre stood side by side, overseeing the rebuilding efforts. They knew their victory was hard-won and were determined to ensure that the darkness that had plagued their village would never return. In the days following the destruction of the talisman, Father Pierre led the villagers in cleansing rituals. They burned sage and recited prayers, banishing any lingering traces of the sorcerer's dark magic. The forest, once a place of terror, slowly began to feel less oppressive, the shadows not as menacing. Antoine, recovering from his ordeal, joined the villagers in their efforts. Though still haunted by his encounter with the man and the beast, he found solace in the camaraderie and the shared determination to rebuild and protect their home. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the village, Father Pierre gathered everyone in the church. We have faced great evil, he began, his voice steady and strong. But we have also seen the strength of our community, the power of our faith, and the courage within each of us. We must remember this as we move forward. The villagers nodded, their faces reflecting a mix of relief and resolve. They knew the battle was over, but the war against darkness would always require vigilance and unity. As the weeks turned into months, Gévaudan began to thrive once more. Crops flourished, and the forest, once a place of fear, became a source of livelihood again. Hunters ventured into the woods, no longer fearing the beast, but always with respect for the land and its mysteries. Antoine, now fully recovered, took up the mantle of protector of the village. He trained younger hunters, sharing his knowledge and experiences, ensuring they were prepared for any future threats. His nightmares lessened, replaced by dreams of a peaceful, prosperous Gévaudan. One crisp autumn day, the Labar and Father Pierre decided to venture deep into the forest, to the place where they had confronted the sorcerer. They felt it was important to ensure that no traces of his evil remained. They found the spot easily, a clearing still marked by the battle that had taken place. The earth was scarred, the trees bearing witness to the fierce struggle. In the center, where the talisman had been destroyed, they found a small, smooth stone, glowing faintly in the twilight. The Labar picked up the stone, feeling a strange warmth. "What do you make of this, Father?" he asked. Father Pierre examined the stone closely. "I believe this is a shard of the fallen star, the source of the sorcerer's power," he said. "But now, without the darkness that fueled it, it holds a different kind of power for good." They decided to take the stone back to the village, seeing it as a symbol of their victory and resilience. Father Pierre placed it in the church, where it became a focal point for their prayers and a reminder of their triumph over the beast. Years passed, and the story of the Beast of Gévaudan became legend, a tale told to children around the fire. It was a story of fear and darkness, but also of bravery and unity. The villagers never forgot the lessons they had learned and remained ever vigilant. Father Pierre continued to lead his flock with wisdom and compassion, while the Labar ensured the safety and prosperity of his lands. Antoine, now an elder hunter, watched with pride as a new generation grew up, strong and unafraid. The forest, once a place of nightmares, had returned to its natural state, a beautiful and bountiful part of their lives. The villagers respected it, always remembering that nature held both wonder and danger. And so, Gévaudan thrived. The darkness that had once threatened them was gone, replaced by light and hope. The villagers knew that as long as they stood together, no evil could ever truly defeat them. In the end, the tale of the Beast of Gévaudan was one of triumph, a reminder that even in the darkest times, courage and unity could overcome any evil. The village remained a beacon of hope and resilience, its people forever vigilant, forever strong.